Welcome to the Phantom Woodworker Project video series. In this project video, we will build this classic 4-poster bed. It features posts with 12 tapered sides, teardrop flutes, traditional joinery, and a handsome removable canopy. This project is destined to become a family heirloom. Remember safety first. Always wear eye, ear, and respiratory protection when in the shop, and follow the safety instructions supplied with your power tools. After preparing the stock, the first step was to mill the 3-inch square section where the rails would be attached. To avoid interference with the router stops, we released the tailstock and rotated the workpiece 90 degrees rather than rotating the indexing shaft. This was necessary because of the short shank on the dish cutting bit we used to mill the smooth finish on the final pass. Because of the interlocking hubs, we were still able to hold tolerances within 5/1000ths of an inch. We replaced the indexing plate with the accessory handle so that we could easily rotate the stock to rough cut the round section for the foot of the bedposts. Notice the fences are set to guide the router down the center of the workpiece. We set the adjustable bed of the Woodchuck at 1.64 degrees for the 12 tapered sides. By referring to the owner's guide, we determined that the top support must be set 1 3/8 inch higher than the headstock. We then set up the Woodchuck for circular molding. We milled the decorative cuts on each end of the square sections using an OG bit. The next step was to set up to mill the flutes. To create the teardrop effect, we simply lowered the top support 7/8 of an inch. This changed the angle from 1.6 to 0.6 degrees. The flutes were then cut using a radius bit with a 3/8 inch diameter. A V-groove bit could also have been used to create this effect. Notice the detail on the foot section of the post. Each cut is spaced 3/4 of an inch apart because of the 3/8 inch radius on the point cutting round over bit. We cut the top and bottom of the ball of the foot using the same bit. The section between the ball of the foot and the circular beads was milled at the same angle as the tapered section. Notice how we rotate the workpiece to make the finish cut on a round section. The radius on the dish cutting bit forms an attractive transition between the two sections. We then laid out both mortises measuring from the bottom of the foot. These mortises were cut using a 1/2 inch diameter 2-flute straight bit. After laying out the pattern, we set the fences and stopped to mill the inside of the pencil line. Fine adjustments were then made for a perfect fit. We chose to square the corners of the mortise rather than round the tenons. To ensure that all 4 legs are exactly the same length and the shoulders were square, we switched the hubs and used a 2-flute straight bit to remove approximately 1/32 of an inch. The top section of the post was tapered on 12 sides at 0.75 degrees by setting the headstock 5/8 of an inch higher than the top support. We then lowered the headstock 3/8 of an inch to cut the teardrop flutes. In 2 of the top sections, we milled a mortise for the headboard and then squared the large end of each post. A plumb bob and line were used to locate the exact position for a centering pin. This setup allowed us to drill the holes for the dowel straight down the center line of each post section with a Forstner bit. This setup is extremely accurate. An error in location of the centering pin of a 1/16 of an inch will still only result in an alignment error of 1/100th of a degree over 33 inches. This is an easy way to drill holes in the center of a long, irregular shaped workpiece. In order to drill the 1-inch diameter hole in the top of the 33-inch section, we used a plug with a hole in the center to align the post on the centering pin. We also drill a 1.5 inch hole in the bottom section of the post for the dowel. Referring to our materials list, we cut all of the pieces for the rails to size. We then set up the saw to cut a groove 3/8 of an inch wide and 3/8 of an inch deep on the top pieces of the rails. Next, we set up the saw to cut the tongue on each of the side pieces. These parts were glued together to form the side rails. We then scraped away all the excess glue. We used a flush trim bit to remove any excess material. The 10-inch and 12 1/4 inch pieces form the tenon and shoulder for the end rails. The two 4 1/2 inch long pieces were then glued to each of the side rails. Next, we set up the saw with a dado blade to cut the tenons on these pieces. It is a good practice to dry fit each joint before gluing. Stops were then clamped to the tenons on each of the rails. These stops set the length of the decorative beads cut on the 3 edges of each rail. We made a cut on both sides of each edge to finish the beads. We laid out and cut one side of the headboard and used a drop to transfer the pattern to the other side. We then cleaned up the cut and the glue joint with an oscillating sander. A 1/4 inch radius round over bit with a guide bearing was used to round the top and bottom edges of the headboard. We rough cut the corner post of the canopy to a diameter of 2 7/8 inches. An element of precision can be added to your work by using a set of calipers. These precision instruments can measure 1/1000th of an inch. We then cut 3 circular beads and milled the remaining section to 2 inches in diameter using the dish cutting bit. Two flat sections were then milled 90 degrees apart using the dish cutting bit. This is where the rails of the canopy are joined to the post. Before we cut the dovetail slots, we milled a 3/8 inch wide by 7/16 inch deep chip relief groove. The dovetail slots were then cut using a 1/2 inch diameter 14-degree dovetail bit. We drilled a 1-inch diameter hole for the dowel, which joins the canopy to the bed posts, and a 1/2 inch diameter hole for the finial. We set up the router with the fence supplied by the manufacturer and built a simple fixture on the end of our workbench to cut the dovetail pins for the canopy. Slotted dovetail joints are used for the entire canopy construction. All of the rails that are joined to the corner post must be relieved 1/4 of an inch on the bottom end. Again, we dry fit the parts to ensure a perfect fit. We laid out and milled the 3 dovetail slots in each of the canopy side rails. leaf slot was cut prior to milling the dovetail slots. We laid out on the workbench the overall length of the canopy side rails and then glued them together. Next, we laid out and cut the curved sections. A 1/4 inch radius roundover bit was used to ease the edges of the rails. We left a 1-inch section on either side of the dovetail slots intentionally until after the canopy was glued together. After gluing the dowel joint of the posts, the end rails are glued and clamped. To allow for expansion and contraction of the wood, no glue was used on the headboard. We then measured center to center at the bottom, middle, and top section of the bedpost to make sure they were parallel. The holes for the bolts were counterbored 1/2 inch deep with a 1-inch diameter Forstner bit. Inch hardware were used to secure the side rails to the posts. The holes can be covered with a 1-inch mushroom hole plug or a more traditional solid brass bolt hole cover available through Woodworker's Emporium. An ogee bit was used to mill the details on the finials. They were then cut to length and drilled for the dowel. We used 6 5-inch brackets to support the box frame of the bed. After a trial fitting of the canopy, this project was ready for a final sanding and finishing. This project videotape is part of our commitment to enhance your personal enjoyment and creativity by providing quality, innovative tools, education, and customer support. If you have any comments or suggestions, please contact our customer support hotline at 1-800-279-4570.